I have always wanted to see how maple syrup is collected and made. I mentioned that to my friend Ken Hovid and he said, "My neighbor and I make maple syrup pretty much each year." Well, that was probably 4 years ago, and since that time we went through COVID, his neighbor was down with shoulder surgery, and then they had poor sap run because of the weather. This year I called Ken and he said, "We are collecting sap right now, so come and see." And here we are. Thanks, Ken.
Hey, glad to, Mary.
How long have you been making maple syrup?
I started out helping another fellow for about 3 years before I started doing it on my own. And that's kind of where I learned the whole process and what it takes to make maple syrup from maple sap. This now is my second year on my own, doing my own cooking. So,
How did you get started?
you know, I saw an ad in the paper and the guy was looking for help, so I answered it and drove down and talked to him and got the job. Yeah, so that got me started. He was a super nice guy. He had been doing it for many years, but it was getting to where he couldn't get around real well anymore, so he needed somebody to do the work in the woods, which is what I got to do. And so I learned all about that.
Ken, what kind of trees can you collect from?
You can collect from maple trees. Now there's several kinds of maples. There's sugar maples, and there's red maples, and there's silver maples. That's the ones you'll probably find in this area mostly. The sugar maples, the sap has probably the highest percent sugar of all of them. And then the red maples and the rest go down a little bit from there.
Is there an ideal size of tree?
Mostly you want your trees to be 10 inches to a foot in diameter or bigger. You don't want to tap the smaller ones because it gets a little hard on them. Sometimes they don't survive if you get too aggressive with them.
Does it hurt the trees at all to tap them each year?
The larger trees, no, not a bit. If you tap too small of a tree, it can hurt it a little bit. And I suppose it won't necessarily kill them, but it'll set them back.
And then you can tap the same tree year after year. You don't have to let it heal for a time?
Yeah, you can tap the same tree year after year after year. You want to drill your tap hole in a different place each year, because once you pull your tap out, that tree will start to heal that hole, and you don't want to drill into the same scar all the time.
Can you do more than one tap on the same tree?
If it's a big tree, 2 foot diameter or bigger, you can do 2 or 3 taps all the way around the tree.
And is there a certain height that you go to tap the trees?
Whatever's convenient. I usually drill them about this high because that's just where my elbow height is. It's easy to drill. You might as well do it where it's comfortable.
Then what are the tools that you need when you go out to tap a tree?
It's pretty simple, just a hammer and a drill and your taps. And then whatever containers you want to collect the sap in. Some people use plastic bags. Some people use just milk jugs, you know. Or some people use a 5-gallon bucket and they'll stand it on the ground and run a hose from the tap into the bucket. That works too.
Does the sap taste different in the beginning of the season of collecting as compared to the end?
Yes, it can. If you collect too long into the season, if you get past the point where the trees are budding or starting to bud, the sap will turn like a yellowish color and it tastes a little green, and you don't want that. No, that's your signal to stop. Then your season is done.
What conditions are needed, or how do you know when to start tapping the trees?
You watch the weather in the spring. Well, ideally the temperatures would be 40 degrees in the daytime and 20 degrees at night. So thaw and freeze, and then they'll be producing sap. No doubt the sap run will start.
How long does the sap usually flow?
Well, that varies each year too. This year we probably had 4 days. We did right here. We're hoping yet this week now, because we have some more ideal weather, that we might get some more. But the trees are starting to bud, so we might be done too. But there's years that it could go for a month too, you know, and that's a super good year. You'd get a lot of sap and a lot of syrup. So,
how do you haul the sap?
We use 5-gallon pails on the ground, the tube from the tap to the bucket. We have a sled that we built that holds a bunch of 5-gallon pails, He goes out and collects into the pails. He'll bring that all back to his shop and he dumps that into a larger tote tank. When that tank gets full, then he'll bring it over here to me.
Do you ever have to worry about critters trying to get into your sap?
It can happen. Now in the 5-gallon pails, they always have lids on them, so nothing's going to get in there. We're pretty safe.
Could you show me how to actually tap a tree?
Absolutely. I have a demo right over here and I'll show you.